Well, hey, good evening, everybody. It's Dave coming to you from the Fireside here in the Wyoming house. It's Saturday. It's getting close to 7:30. It seems to be my pattern, right? The last 4 or 5 Fireside chats have been 7:30, so it seems to be a pattern that works for me. So we had a good day. It was a little bit slower being a Saturday. Just did work around the house and then went downtown. I had a couple errands to run in town, so we got downtown a little early. I had to get to the post office, and like I told you last night, the window's 10 to 11:30, and then you're on to Monday. So we got to the post office around 11:30, and then headed downtown. Got downtown around 12:15, and had to go to FedEx and do a couple of. Had to go to the grocery store, which is a mistake on Saturday, but this time of year I didn't pay too big of a Saturday tax. Got over the lounge around 1 o'clock, and just got back to the house around 7. Everything's cleaned up and done, so it's time for the fireside chat. So that's welcome to Saturday night. I show you all these fancy cigars, which is really fun, and the humidor's just smashed with them now. But I don't smoke those yet. I'm not smoking that great a cigar. So when I'm down in the lounge, I'm basically smoking my my Olmec double Turos, can't think of it right now. I'm smoking the Liga Privada number 9, the Serie V, the Liga Serie B Milanio, and then I also smoke the Davidoff Maduros. So those are sort of my go-tos that are in. I have a box in the lounge, and that's what's in the box right now. So anyway, haven't started the fancy smoking yet. I probably will this trip as the box empties out down in town. I'll probably move some of the fancies downtown and start smoking those. So I'll let you know how they are. Anyway, just wanted to tell you what I'm smoking day to day when I'm down in the lounge. I'm not going to do a lot of preamble tonight. We've got 2 items I want to talk about tonight. One is CEO school item and one is a investment school item. So we'll go ahead and start. CEO school item is your motivation for kind of whatever you're doing for money, whether it be a job, a career, start your own thing, start a second gig, like we've talked about so many times on the channel. But I know a lot of people I've talked to about starting a second gig, and a lot of the people I work with in my CEO school talk about wanting to make a lot of money, want to be rich, want to buy a really cool car, and things like that. And so one of the first things we need to determine is, why are we doing what we're doing? And if the why is strictly monetary, strictly for yourself, or strictly for cooler things, or strictly just for a better life, I think we're going to find out that really that's probably not provide sufficient motivation to go through what you're going to have to go through, or to give you the stamina you're going to need to make it when you start your own gig. So the bumper sticker for this conversation is your why big enough, or your why isn't big enough? I've said this face to face to the people who come to my paddock for school, my mentors, my mentorees, my kids. Just most of the time our why isn't big enough. We need to expand it past ourselves. We need to expand it past luxury items or to be rich. Those are pretty thin and it's honestly pretty pathetic reasons to start something in life. And what I would suggest is our why shouldn't go beyond ourselves. It should be to set our spouses up for life, to set our kids up for life, to create intergenerational financial freedom, to help out as many people outside of our family circle as we possibly can, and so just really try to create a bigger why, and then follow through on it. Right? Don't lie to yourself about what it is. Don't say you're doing this to create intergenerational wealth and then go out and buy a Lamborghini. That really doesn't. If your actions don't match your heart or your words, the universe or God won't get involved, at least not in a positive way. What we're looking for is to behave in a manner in which God will put his hand on his shoulder, put his hand at our back, that we feel the wind at our back as we strive for next level performance, or to create an income stream that will truly change our lives and those around us. So some of my why, some of the elements of my why over the last, really the 33 years I was from college to when I sold the company. I've been out 6 years now, but for the 33 years, the 8 prep years and the 25 years I ran the company, my why fell into 3 categories. One was just failure was not failure was not a possibility. It wasn't an option. And my whole family and some of my extended family and our ability to have a life, pay for our house, provide for school, put food on the table, relied completely 100% on me being able to generate profit and revenue out of my business. So that was probably the one that kept me running hardest at the first. The second was to provide as many people as possible a career and opportunity that they wouldn't have if I or my company didn't provide the career opportunity for them. We hired a lot of people that frankly we probably shouldn't have. We hired up. You hired people and put them in slots they probably shouldn't have been placed in, and a lot of people, the vast majority of people, thrived in that environment. And we gave them the ability to have income, pay for their mortgages, pay for their cars, provide for their kids to go to school. And that was a pretty big driving motivation for me. And that was one of my first, expanded out of my circle of influence, get it out of, it's all about me, it's all about my close family, and we could really say we were helping. At the end we had 500 families completely dependent on our ability to run a business. And that was another big part of the why. And then the third part, the largest part, was what we did as a company was support the intel community in the United States. And I mean, I really believe in my heart to this day that we made the protection bubble around the way of life in the United States stronger. America was safer because of what we were doing. And that's a pretty big why. That's a pretty big reason to increase your company, run it better, hire better people, provide better services, provide better products. So those are the 3 elements of my why. I just share that, and they don't have to be yours in any way, but I always try to give examples from my life because it worked. So it wasn't an option. My family was 100% dependent on me. We provided 500 families a way of life, and we made the protection bubble around the United States stronger for what we did. So that's my why. Gosh, maybe I should talk about my why now. So this channel is part of that. My why is to improve and help as many people's lives as utterly possible. If it's helping them get into investing or get better at investing, even the guys in my lounge, some of them are turning to me for mentorship, guidance, coaching, help, and that feels really good. So the more people I can help in any factor of their lives, whether it be starting a business, making their business better, making their investment returns better, if I can turn their lives up, I mean, that really excites me. So that's a big part of what I do now. I've stepped away from car collections. I've stepped away from racing, things that were all about me. I spent a few years swimming in Lake Mead, and I'm glad I did. It was really fun, but kind of got that out of my system, and that's about what can I do again for my family, my extended family. Can I create intergenerational financial independence within my family? And I think that's within reach. We're close to really being a family where my 2 kids really don't have to worry about money. We're pretty close to that. but can I create it intergenerational and do it in a manner where it's not 3 generations, rags to riches to rags, right? That's the big meme around family wealth. So hopefully we can do that, and we are working hard towards it. I spend, like I said, 5-6 hours a day working towards that goal. So that's my why for the last 33 years, and then my why for the last couple of years. I just thought I'd be honest about what drives me every day. So I should give credit where credit's due. So before we step off this first subject, this concept of what is your why, or is your why big enough, came to me through my year with Tony Robbins. I spent a year in his Platt group years ago. Oof, 10 years ago? I don't even remember how long. Back then, the Platt group was special. You traveled the world with Tony. There were only 100 allowed in throughout the world. It was a very special group, and it was a good year for me. So we'll try to wipe off what you think of Tony Robbins, but it was an amazing year. But he's the source of, is your why big enough? So I just want to, since I'm stealing content, I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. All right, we're kind of ready to move on to item number 2 today. All right, so let's move on to number 2. Like I said before, number 2 is an investment school item, and I didn't come up with it. So give credit where it's due. This question came from one of you. Man, those are my favorite. If I get a question that's broad enough that I feel there's general value in putting in a video, man, those are my favorite. So the question was, how do I know when an investment is something that I believe in and really want to put real money and put true belief in it, and truly lean on for my income and for the financial future of my family? So that's the question we're going to answer and talk about for the rest of the video. And this would be the only 2 subjects. So again, the question is, how do I know when an investment is something I believe in and really start to push my chips into the center of the table on it? And so I thought that was a great question. I appreciate you asking it, and let's head into how I do it. Okay, before I head into my answer, I'm going to attach a link. I'll probably pin it as the first comment to this video. It's a link to a video by a guy I follow. His name is Stock Mo, and try to not. The delivery can sometimes be a little bit glib, or he tries to be funny and he says weird things from time to time. But this is a 24-minute video, and I'm begging you to watch it. It is his description of how do you become a millionaire starting with $0 today, and how long does it take based on your methodology in investing. It's pretty fantastic. He talks about if you choose to invest just in the S&P 500. He talks about if you choose to invest only in the NASDAQ. He talks about how you want to do it if you do it with cryptos. So please watch this 24-minute that's pinned as comment number 1 to this video. I'm begging you. It's worth more to watch that minute. So if you want to, stop watching this video and go watch that one. It is far more value than what I give. So again, Stockmo is his name. I watch every video he produces, and I think he's worth your time, particularly with this video. I'd recommend you subscribe to him and watch pretty much every video he does. He usually does about 1 or 2 a day. I believe it's worth your time, and it'll show you how a true professional investor who came from the investment world, how he plays, mainly in the crypto market today, but he does do other things. He does calls, and he invests directly in some of the things we've talked about. He invests in the stock market directly, but please, it's worth 24 minutes of your time. So my answer is going to really, it comes from 2 books. So I'm going to put a link in the pinned comment to 2 books. The first is Good to Great, but the better one is his second book, Great by Choice. And God, if I could please read them, or if you can get it on Audible. I've never looked. I'm pretty sure they're both on Audible. They're great books. The first book is a total business classic, and it talks about what we try to do in life is like 1,000-pound flywheel. And the hardest part is to get started and get that thing starting to turn. And the more effort we put on it consistently, the more momentum we build in this, what is seeming like an impossible task. And the more we stay with it and the more consistent we are, the faster we can get that 1,000-pound wheel turning. It's a concept that landed with me 20 years ago, and I use it to this day. The main lesson is every time you get bored or inconsistent or don't feel like doing it or following through, and you allow the flywheel to come to ground, to come to stop again, you got to start all over. And the hardest part is getting it started again. So it's just this, if we're not consistent, if we don't do what we need to do every day, if we just get bored or stupid or we just don't feel like it and we don't push through that, we keep hitting the hardest part of the task over and over and over to the point where we're just emotionally broken. We just don't have in our soul, this is crap, it's never going to work, because you always keep doing the hardest part. The other analogy is, you look at the rockets that went to the moon, the Saturn V, like 90% of that structure was to get us off the Earth and out of Earth orbit. And then this tiny little piece went all the way to the moon, landed on the moon, circled the moon, and came back from the moon and landed back on Earth. I thought that was a pretty good analogy as well. So we keep burning 80% of our effort on the hard part. We never get to that easy cruise to the moon. So I just thought that was great. The second book has many chapters in it, but the chapters that are most impactful to me come from the first successful expedition to the South Pole. When they got back, they asked, how did you do it? And the leader of the expedition says, I forced my men to do a 5-mile march every day. In a freaking blizzard, whiteout storm, we did 5 miles a day, and they barely made it. And on beautiful days when we could have done 20 miles, we did 5 miles, and we took a rest for the rest of the day. And that I just love that idea of just, no matter what life throws at you, no matter what your day has in store, you get your 5 miles done. And that goes a lot to the flywheel concept. Just doesn't matter. Some days you just feel like doing 10 times as much towards your effort. And some days you just can barely get yourself out of bed or off the couch. And I just love that concept of no matter what your day throws at you, get your 5 miles done. I just love that. It's a beautiful concept. So the other concept that is brought up in another chapter is bullets before cannonballs. And the concept was, as a field commander, like in the Army on ground forces, you put bullets down range to make sure you understand what you're shooting at, how far it is, and all that. Don't expend your big cannonballs or your big artillery till you understand by shooting bullets that you are in the right place. The bullets before cannonballs. I just love that concept. Plays directly into my answer to how I find and slowly believe in the investment selections that I make, and I'm currently in, by the way. Okay, so to find the concepts that I want to invest in, right? The ideas, the asset classes, the individual investment ideas. I turn to what most would probably consider fringe advice or fringe radars. And one of them Stockmo, and another one's the Economic Ninja. Both have YouTube channels. These guys are out on the fringe a little bit. They are not Goldman Sachs. They are not Morgan Stanley. They are not Edward D. Jones. They are outside the norm, and I like that. If we're getting our stock tips or if we're getting our investment advice from Kramer or MSNBC or CNN or Fox Business News, it's over by then. And sometimes you're getting reverse advice of what you should be doing from a lot of the more mainstream or accepted sources. even your own financial advisor. He or she has operating rules that are put down on them by their companies. They have investments they are to push. They have investments that they are to stay away from. And frankly, some of the best investments in the world are not available through their company. That's why I manage my own money. One of my best friends helped me come up with an investment plan. I used him for 2 years after I sold the company because it was a lot of money and I was scared by all the zeros. But even he, one of my closest friends, was giving me bad advice because it's what his company wanted sold, and it was products that he could sell me. And that doesn't always match up. Their best interest has to match with their company's best interest, and they very rarely match with yours. So I go out on the fringe. If we're trading with the herd, if we're investing with the herd, or investing after the herd has entered the investment, the move is over, and you're just looking for the scraps off the table, although you'll never hear that from absolutely anyone in the financial advice world. So I'll give you an example. I'll give you a perfect example that I've been in for a while, for about a month now. The Economic Engine, the Economic Ninja, Travis is his name, put out a newsletter to his subscribers, and at the very, very bottom of the newsletter was an unheard of crypto coin. So I'm listening to a fringe advisor give advice on this unknown crypto coin. I mean, can you get any riskier than that? And it was XCN. And I said, you know what, I'm going to trust this guy. And I moved a little bit of money that day. As soon as I read the newsletter, I went in and I put in a little bit, I fired a bullet. I put some money into XCN and I watched it for a few days, started reading about it, and it started making sense to me, and it started moving the right way. So I pushed a little more money in, and I kept reading, and I kept studying it, and I kept watching its performance. And after about a week or two, it seemed to be real. The use case seemed real. The news, on the minor channels, on the minor venues, all seemed to be heading the same way, seemed to be matching what I was reading. And so I pushed a whole bunch of chips in. And from over the last 4 weeks, it's given me 7x, 7x. For every dollar I pushed in, I got 7 out. And I don't know how to explain it better than that. That's how I do it. And then there are larger trends. And so, like, if you look at precious metals, which I've been harping on for a year on this channel, I'm a believer in precious metals as a way to protect or hedge against inflation. I also believe it's a great investment. And a lot of investment advisors say, well, gold, precious metals is not an investment. It's simply a protection. Some of the biggest names, Warren Buffett will say, I don't own gold because it doesn't give a return. And I mean, who am I? I'm an ant. I'm a flea in this world, and he's an elephant. But I completely disagree. I moved a lot of it to protect my money, to hold its value. And last year, it made me almost not. It was my second best financial year, second only to the year I actually sold my company. And so sometimes I have to believe in myself. I have to have my beliefs and understand why. I believe gold will continue to go up. I believe silver will continue to go. And so that's why I've only spent the profits out of my gold and silver holdings. I still have a huge amount of gold and silver physical in my possession. And I believe it will go back. It will give me all the money I took out as profits back this year, 2025, by Christmas this year. That pile of precious metals will have made back what I took out to fund my crypto. So how did I find precious metals? I just believe there are asset allocations. There are assets you can buy in this world, and there aren't that many. True investment assets, those that will increase in value. It's pretty simple. It's real estate, stocks, bonds, precious metals, crypto. And for me, that's it. Those are all the asset classes I worry about. And then you have to pay attention to the world. You have to listen to news feeds. You have to watch what I call news aggregators. I don't like to hunt through news articles. I watch an aggregation of news aggregators. I watch 4, 5, 6 people who aggregate news stories, and that's kind of what they do on their channel. They kind of almost read you the news. But in a 30 or 45-minute window, I can get what they've scooped up. Now, do they miss stuff? I'm sure they do, but it's a system that works for me. But if you pay attention to the news, I mean, even the person under the biggest rock has heard about artificial intelligence. And so you think to yourself, wait a minute, if AI is so hot, so popular, I should invest in AI companies. And so you start Googling AI companies and their names start coming up and you start reading about them. You start using YouTube, search on YouTube, and you get people who are kind of on the outskirts who are starting to invest in AI companies. Some are tiny and you don't know if they'll make it, and some are the monsters. You know, Google's a good example, IBM's another example. But if you believe AI has a future in this world, and it does, you need to start deciding, you need to start firing bullets before cannonballs, right? You need to put $100 into the stock you believe in, because when you put money in it, you actually start watching it. And you start paying attention to what the company's doing. You start paying attention to the performance of its stock. And once it starts giving you that feeling like, wow, I made a good decision, you fire a few more bullets. And if it continues to go in some of the fringe news areas, you start firing cannonballs into that investment. And another example is quantum computing. I mean, if just on my channel you hear about it, and if you believe quantum computing is gonna go, then you need to fire some bullets. At NVIDIA or RTGI, or who are the major and fringe players in quantum computing, and you fire a few bullets. You might lose your bullets, so that's why you fire small. If it's $100 or $1,000, I don't know where you are financially, but you start firing bullets. And that's kind of how I do it. I do it through news aggregators. I do it through my fringe guys on YouTube. Another one's Johnny Bravo. These 3 guys that I've told you about are weird. They have weird presentation styles. They are way outside the norm. They will make you feel uncomfortable. But I enjoy them, and they have served me well for several years now. Actually, the other thing I've talked to you about is have a base in your investments so you don't worry about too much. I've talked about invest in the S&P 500, invest in the NASDAQ. I'm relatively not too volatile and give great returns over the last 30, 40 years. And that can be your basis. And then put some money in a couple of crypto coins that you believe in. You can use the big boys. I mean, they're volatile, but I mean, they are backed by the herd at this point. Bitcoin, Ethereum. And then, or put your money in some up and comers. XRP is the one I've chosen. I chose it because of StockMo a couple months ago. He really started blasting about it, and so I started looking into it, and it's done me very well. And I happen to believe it will be the foundation of our international monetary transfer system over the next year or two. And then some of the no names. XCN is the example that I use. XLM, FLR. There are a bunch. I'm sticking with American base. So that's the other thing. You gotta understand the macro picture that all these things operate in as well. But what I'm trying to do is say, spread it out so you're not just sweating this one, right? This is it. Don't pick one and then you gotta sweat about it every day. Be wide and then pick a few that if they turn out like XCN, I went deep on. I fired cannonballs at XCN. I fired cannonballs at XRP. and they've continued to serve me well. I've fired small cannonballs, bullets, and then small cannonballs at a couple of AI stocks that are serving me well. My quantum stocks have not. I've gotten out of a few because I fired bullets and it just didn't seem to work, and I didn't feel comfortable with the macro view. I'll give you an example of macro view. So I was all excited about quantum computing. I think it's near term, 5 years before we start seeing them. And then NVIDIA's CEO came out and gave a speech at a conference and said, as the number one provider or investor in quantum, up there with Google and some others, he came out and said, this is not viable technology and it won't be for 35 years. What happened to the quantum stocks the next day? They all crashed, and they've all stayed pretty hurt. So I got out. It just didn't make any sense for me. I'm not going to ride through the fear of the macro, not believing in the story right now. I have to wait. That doesn't mean I won't invest later this year or next year. I don't know when the macro view will start to turn a little bit and it won't be, such a bloodbath. I'm not ready to invest in those stocks again right now. I'll give you another example of macro. Is the new president has come out and signed several executive orders about, he's directing the administration to help to make the United States the leader in cryptocurrency. He's done another one to make it the leader of a couple other technologies. I can't remember what it is right now. Sorry. But he has clearly said this administration, the United States government, is going to make it possible. Oh, he unleashed the banks. The banks had several poor laws passed over the last 2 or 3 years, and he's undone all of those. So the macro picture at the national level is crypto friendly, banking friendly, bankers getting involved in cryptocurrencies. So that tells me the macro picture, the big money in the world is going to move towards the crypto world. And so I feel like once the United States says they're doing it, a whole bunch of other countries are going to race to get in front of it. That's a good example. So you get, whether it be from StockMo or Economic Ninja or other people, you get these little flashes, these little ideas, these flickers, and it's up to you to go do the research and find out if you want to fire a bullet, and then track the the productivity of the bullet you fired, and if it proves it, fire a cannonball. That's up to you, but you have to pay attention at the big level, and it takes time. That's the other thing is, to be to run our own money, to make our own investment decisions. You have to be aware of the macro picture, the political picture. You have to have a sense of why you're firing these bullets. You have to know how to track how's the environment doing into which you fire the bullet. Should you fire a cannonball or not? I don't know if this is hitting or not, but I just trying to say in English how I pick these things. And then the other thing is, I personally have been diversified. I have a lot in real estate. I have a lot in precious metals. I have a lot in crypto. And one of the other criteria for me is it hidden or tax-free from the government? And real estate is sort of a hidden asset. I mean, you got to pay property tax on it. When you sell it, you're going to pay capital gains on it, but it's largely a hidden asset. You don't really report on it. You get your tax bill, property tax bill from your county, but largely the government isn't really aware of the asset. Precious metals are the same way. Once you buy your precious metals and take possession of it, really no one knows you own it. And then crypto, that's the other thing the government's thinking about doing, and I think they're going to, is if you buy an American-based crypto, you pay no tax on the capital gains. That's huge. So those are things that help me vector my larger ideas, my larger cone, as I scoop around looking for ideas. So is it hidden? Is it tax-free? Is the government in support of it? Are other countries in support of it? Do you see the banks moving to it? Do you see huge investment firms moving towards it? another reason I picked XRP and will continue to ride it probably for at least this year is that big institutions have applied to have an ETF. There's 7 applications right now, so there may be 3, 4, 5 ways to purchase something like XRP directly on the open market. And if that gets approved, and it probably will be in the next 30, 45, 60 days, a whole bunch of money is going to move towards that asset because your 401ks, your pension funds, the people who manage that money is going to open it up and use it as a way to diversify their holdings. I know this is probably a softer answer than many people would like. It's a softer answer than I would like. I would like to be able to send you a spreadsheet and say, look, in these 3 places, use these 5 criteria and go. And in my opinion, that just does not exist. We joke about whatever Kramer says, buy, 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 that means short it. Whenever he says sell, 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 that means you should go buy it. Right? Do the opposite of what mainstream is saying they're doing, because they're really not there to help you. And they are trying to, if they're telling you to sell something, it's only because they want to knock the price down and scare you out of it so they can buy at a lower price. And if they're telling you to buy, 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 it's something they intend to sell, but they want all of us to dump into it as dumb retail investors, so it bumps the price up so they can get out at a higher price. So just be aware. Do the opposite of what the herd's doing in a lot of cases. Anyway, I kind of pre-apologize or post-apologize, I guess, for, giving you these fuzzy things, these fuzzy steps. I'll tell you it works, but it's just not as simple as look in these 3 places and apply these 5 questions and go. It's just not that easy. So the other part we should talk about is your personality. Mine is a risk taker. I believe to have true financial explosions in your life, you have to take risks, and I'm okay with that. I started my own company. I ran for office. I'm managing my own money. I bought a log mansion in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming. I'm not risk averse. And I like being on the fringe. I like being away from the herd. I like doing things before the world agrees that it's a good idea. And it served me well. And that's why I like the 3 guys I told you about, Stockmo, Economic Engine, and Johnny Bravo. I like those guys. I like their personalities. I like their goofiness. You may hate them. And, the first thing you have to do is decide what kind of personality you fit with. You have to find your own 3 guys, whatever that turns out to be, whether it be, news channels or whether that be YouTube channels. You have to find the ones that you feel, this is now I'm really fuzzy, right? But you feel comfortable with, you feel an attachment to, that you feel some trust with. Still fire bullets if you're going to take their advice. Fire bullets, trust but verify, right? Ronald Reagan. And that's what I do. I trust but verify. And you'll need to do the same thing. That's the first step I would take, is find people who aggregate news and aggregate investment thoughts and ideas in a way and in a manner and the type that you jive with, that you feel comfortable with. That's the first step. The second step is be careful, be diversified across asset classes. Don't fire money don't fire bullets of money that you can't afford to lose, because maybe the bullet will miss. Be very careful as you upgrade to larger bullets and then find the cannonballs. But that'd be the second step, is be careful where you fire bullets and how much you fire at once. Because I love this guy, I trust his advice, fire a cannonball. And that's a mistake, because they make mistakes too. So, and then watch your investments. And watch out for what's called in the investment world a blow-off top. And if you look at the chart of XRP, if you look at the chart of XCM, they look like blow-off tops. And And so I pull money off when I see this asymptotic, just incredible, unsustainable price growth. I'll pull some money out, because if it goes up, lots of times it kind of comes back down. It makes this perfect spire, and you don't want to ride it all the way back down. So just be aware of blow off tops, investment returns that are too good to be true. I'll tell you something I'm struggling with is, how do you know the difference between a blow off top and something that is just going to blow to 100x? And I took my money out at 7x. That'd be very upsetting. And, it happens. So that's something I'll just be honest with. I'm currently challenged with, because I'm in it. I'm still in some of them that have done what some would consider a blow off top. It just hasn't blown off yet. And it could keep going. So I can't tell. I think that's art and not science. Guys, I don't know if this answered the question or not. I don't know if I caused you more confusion in how I go through this. But, bust me in the face, tell me I was too fuzzy, or ask me more questions, ask me to drill deeper in certain areas. I'm not really sure. These videos are 20 minutes long, and I don't know how deep to go into this. So I don't even know how many people even care about this subject, by the way. So I just thought it was a great question. I wanted to give it a nice, good, solid answer as best I could inside of a video of this type. I'm not recommending you purchase or buy anything. I'll tell you, as an asset class, I'd ask you to get smart on the crypto world, because I think it's life-changing. But inside of crypto, which cryptocurrencies to go after, I'm just not good enough to advise you. I can tell you what I'm doing, and that's really about it. I probably should end this with, I'm a moron, and you should never follow anything I say, and you'll die penniless if you do anything I say in these videos. Oh my God, 42 minutes. I just assembled all the video pieces. I apologize for that. Boy, I love this subject. I love CEO school. I love investment school. I love answering questions as you guys ask. I try to give you real answers in English, no jargon. If I have to use jargon, I try to explain it. This is stuff that anybody can get. Anybody can understand this. Anybody can do it. But the investment world doesn't want you to know that. So they speak in jargon and BS such that they make you feel like, well, only they can understand it and you can't. I think that's intentional. So I'm trying to break that mold here on this channel. I've gone on way too long, and I apologize for that. Guys, I hope you had a great Saturday. I hope you got a great Sunday. I'm going to end it as always. May God bless you, and may He bless the lives around you. May God turn His ear to your prayer. May God make His face shine upon you and all those in your life. And may He bless you as well as He has blessed me and continues to bless my life. Have a good night, guys. We'll talk again tomorrow. Bye now.